So this is either going to be brilliant tonight, guys, or it's going to be like an episode of Seinfeld where it's about nothing.
Yeah. I hope it's not gonna. Yeah, we'll see.
Agreed.
I don't know. It'll be about nothing.
It'll all work out in the end.
It's about nothing. Nothing.
Optimism.
No worries. We're professionals here.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Speaking of professionals, hi guys.
Hey.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening, everyone.
So,
evening.
if you were listening in on our little audio as we were coming in, we have half a plan for tonight, but that's on purpose because we want to have a little bit more of a raw discussion. Because when we're not streaming, that's actually kind of what we do. We just we all talk to each other, and it kind of goes where it goes. There's an overall theme that we'll get to, but this will be different, I think, from what we did on Tuesday, because I think Tuesday was a little more focused. I think you guys would agree.
Yes.
But it's become tradition, if you can have traditions after only 4 episodes, that I start with a question. So I'm going to go to you, Michael.
Okay.
So if you don't have a very specific, focused down theme for the show, and you're going to ask a question, the question you're going to ask is, I don't have a question. So is the answer to that question A, C, B, A, or C, B?
The correct answer is always C.
So your answer is B.
CB.
Actually, if the correct answer is always C, then you should answer A, because A was C.
Well, yes, A was C, but C was B, which B is always wrong, but B was A, so there you go.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Now that we've solved that,
I didn't follow that, but okay.
that was the whole idea, actually, is to not follow it. I just wanted to be weird because I feel weird today. It's okay.
It's all right.
So mission accomplished.
I heard a comment in the chat just now from a. It says you are choppy. Yeah.
I don't see that on this end, so I think it might be on their end. Everything looks incredibly stable from here.
Okay.
So
you
with
guys
all of that in mind, with all of that in mind, what we want to do this evening is talk about the Louisiana Parole Board, the Board of Pardons and Paroles. We watch a lot of what they do on the live show in the mornings. About 3 days a week, we go there at least once.
Yes.
And we have all sorts of opinions on it, and we have all sorts of thoughts on it. And we just kind of thought, especially after what we watched yesterday, and we watched another one today, that it might be worth just vamping about, and we'll see where it goes. Now, Michael, I know that you said that you and Michelle rewatched some of that. So maybe we start off with you, if you don't mind. Let us know what you guys kind of thought as you rewatched some of it.
Well, so we watched. So there's obviously the 2 cases that I think we're really going to key in on in this discussion is if you guys were watching TCF Live yesterday, that would be Wednesday the 6th. The second, the case to wrap up the show was a guy that had been in prison since December of 1979. And he went in, I guess, on kidnapping, murder, felony. He led police on a chase. He did turn himself in, but it turned out it was a wild case. And I don't know all the facts of it. They got into some of it though. And what it sounded like was just crazy. He stole a truck. He was going to do some stuff to a woman, I guess. And then he wound up shooting a guy. It was just a crazy, crazy case. So he's up for parole, which is kind of weird in the first place because he supposedly pled to a life sentence as opposed to going to jury trial where he was going to face the death penalty. So I don't know exactly how he got parole, but anyway, he's been in for 45 of almost 46 years. And it was a fascinating case. And, we definitely had a good discussion. Like, should this guy get out? Michelle's like, I thought I thought life was life. And I said, I kind of said the same thing. I thought life in prison is life in prison. So we didn't really understand how he was up for parole, but at the same time, he had his family there. Everybody was saying, please, he's 68 years old now. He was 22 when he committed this, series of terrible, heinous things. And it's time for him to get out. Well, his sister was there. I think I can't remember, his brother maybe, and some other family.
It was a chaplain. It was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was a chaplain too, Michael.
And he said he turned his life over to God, which got me to win bingo finally because he used, religion as a defense. But anyway, that's another topic. No more one away. Finally won the bingo.
All of a sudden, Michael puts in the chat, I've got to run upstairs.
I did. I in the middle of this, this intense case, I run upstairs just to score my bingo card. Anyway, but he had everybody on his side except then the victim's family comes on and kind of goes into what happened that day and recounts it. And how there was somebody that he shot someone on the side of the road. That person crawled to the highway to get help. Then the person that came and helped him tried to. Of course, that person wound up dying. Somebody else that was involved in this died. Well, they said of a broken heart years later. Anyway, it was just an intense case, and of course they denied. They denied him of his parole. Which, that one, I could at least understand. Okay, I could get that. The other case that we saw that everybody had an opinion on, I'm sure this is what's going to really spark the controversy, is that, well, maybe not. Maybe we all agree on this. I don't know. So, there was an individual who, I guess he was up for probation. His probation was going to be revoked.
Yes.
As I understood it.
Yeah, it was the revocation hearing.
Yeah, it was the revocation hearing. And one of the first questions that they asked him was about whether or not he was arrested during his time out. I guess there was a gun that he supposedly had, and then he disposed of the gun while he was in a chase or something like that. And it wasn't the fact that they asked him if he had been arrested. It was they asked him, we're asking if you're guilty of being arrested, which is a weird phrasing. And that immediately Dan's eyebrows went up, mine went up. The chat started bubbling up on that. Then, the facts of the case, I guess he went to trial on all this, and he was found not guilty by a jury of his peers.
Yes, and
the board
doesn't he bring that up?
And on federal charges. Yep. And the board literally says, we don't care about that. That doesn't matter. We get to just decide. So basically it comes down to, we decide just if willy-nilly if we want to. Whether you're guilty or not kind of doesn't matter. And so they brought out DNA evidence that I guess in the federal case, there was a lot of discrepancy whether or not it should come in or not. And anyway, the jurors looked at it. They found him not guilty anyway, but the board didn't care. And I'll tell you, this is this board of parole. I tell you, the more we watch it, the more, when I always just kind of joke in the chat, that's our running joke, is that I always say it's going to be denied because 90% of the time it is, whether it's a pardon, a parole, a revocation, it's going to be revoked. This was kind of outrageous to me. It seemed like the guy was innocent. I'm not saying he wasn't a saint, but in this particular case, it seemed like he was innocent. You can't just use something that other people threw out, I don't think, as a means to revoke somebody's probation. That's silly.
I agree. Before we go any further, there was one thing I wanted to point out at the beginning. I do want to give a little bit of credit to that board. They stream everything they do, and they never take anything down.
Yes.
So I do want to highlight, for their credit, they put themselves out there, for better or worse.
Oh, I appreciate that.
So just pointing that out, but continue.
So that was basically my whole point about this was that I thought it was absolutely outrageous that you can revoke somebody's probation based on what a court has already deemed beyond a reasonable doubt that he did not do. And you're just going to say, well, that doesn't matter to us. If we think you did it, doesn't matter what a court and what a jury of your peers says.
Yeah.
Kind of like innocent until proven guilty, but even if you are innocent, still guilty.
One person didn't want to revoke him, but I think it was a 2-1 vote. So the other two, it was a majority wanted to revoke his parole. So it's unfortunate. It really is. At least one person kind of saw it like how we see, or I think we see it. In terms of what I think if you're found not guilty of a federal crime, I think that should weigh as heavy as the act itself, if that makes sense. So if you're already found guilty, why are you saying he's still guilty of that crime? It just didn't make sense to me.
Well, there's a lot of things that they do that don't necessarily make sense.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think we have to acknowledge too that this is, we're a court channel, but when we monitor them, we're not monitoring a court of law.
It's true.
I was thinking about this today.
Correct.
Because I
This is
spent a
not
lot of
court
time.
law.
I spent a lot of time when I was working on other things today, listening back to some of what they've done, some things that we haven't seen on this channel. So it exposed me to some more cases. And it struck me all of a sudden that this is much less a court of law and a court of fact and much more a court of gut feeling.
Mm.
Yes.
Kangaroo court.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, but I think in a lot of cases these people have to go with their gut as to whether or not if they let somebody out, it's going to work out. And if it doesn't work out, it's kind of their rear ends on the line for it because they let them out.
And whoever speaks on these, sorry to cut you off, Dan, but whoever speaks on these, for or against, also greatly impacts the decision, of course. And it seems like the more some people, law enforcement, if they're against that person, is usually a done deal that they'll be denied parole. So,
and I know that we talk too with this board. We talk a lot about how old they are.
Yeah,
but
ancient.
But I came to the thought, not a conclusion, but more of a thought, when it occurred to me that this was more a court of gut feeling.
Yeah.
That is the fact that it's stocked with older people necessarily a bad thing because they've got that life experience to have maybe a better informed gut. Now, I do think we could argue that there should be a little more variety, perhaps, from background. On the screen, I've got pulled up from their website the different board members, and Cheryl here was in the Department of Corrections. Stephen used to be a sheriff. Curtis worked in the Department of Corrections. Chuck here was in prison ministry, so he's a little bit of an outsider from that. This one worked on the victim side of things. Jerry here looks like she spent most of her career in the parole system. And Danny here, same thing. So there's not a lot of variety, and perhaps that's where the board could be improved. But I'm thinking more along those lines than I am about how old they are now, because of how I'm starting to frame it in my mind that I think your gut on these people and what you think they might be able to accomplish if they're out is really what these guys do. I don't know. Thoughts?
Well, I think that these guys, I think I don't always disagree with them. I want to make that clear. A lot of the time, I do think they get it right. But when they're wrong, man, they are just so off. And I think yesterday's just really sent me into a bit of a spiral. Like, if the law doesn't matter, if what a court says doesn't matter, and you're just going to throw that out because your gut tells you, this guy is still guilty. And, you know, I just think that was a little bit weird. And I can't help but think, well, you know, why? Why didn't it matter? Is it because this is a younger black guy? Is it? Well, I mean, what's the reason for this? And these are older folks. Like, if we had a bit more diversity in age, you know, I know they have some racial diversity on that board some days, but if they had a little bit, maybe a younger perspective too, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I just think it is weird that after all of that, and after, you know, there was clear inconsistencies on the report, and they even noted inconsistencies, they didn't care. They were like, well, we don't care about inconsistencies in the facts. We're going with our gut.
Yeah, I disagree with that personally. I think they should look at all the facts when they're deciding something like this.
Yeah, I will say that I'm in agreement with you, Michael, that I think that one they got incredibly wrong. I really do. Because to just ignore the verdict of something doesn't make any sense to me either. But I was just saying overall,
right,
when they have all the facts in front of them, I think it comes down to making a gut decision a lot more than it probably comes down to the raw facts of things. Because the raw facts of things, quite frankly, are almost always horrific.
I think their behavior in classes also greatly impact how they decide as well. But I think I agree with you, Dan, that the gut feeling is definitely there. Because if I was in their shoes, I have to put myself in their shoes. I would probably have to do the same thing if I had the facts. But I would have to look at all the facts and not say it's irrelevant. That doesn't make... How can you have irrelevant facts is my question. So that was...
Well, especially if they are, you know, if they're exculpatory, you know, if they are going to
No, man, this is not a trial. We got to get this clear. This is not a trial. Exculpatory, this is not a trial. So whether or not he has information, he's been convicted or not convicted. I agree with you that it's a little messed up for them to bring in, like, hey, can you explain to us why you were arrested and why you
were you guilty of being arrested? Though? I mean, come on.
That was a incredibly poorly worded legal question that would never get by in a courtroom. But we're in a parole hearing. So exculpatory, that's not what we're talking about here.
I use the word, I mean, I could have just said exclusionary or something that it would mitigate the fact of, you know, the idea that this guy did something wrong. I mean, there's, you know, and if a jury didn't think they did, if a judge didn't think they did, I don't know why these guys are putting themselves into position of, well, we know better. Like, okay, that's okay. Tune down the God complex, guys. Like, come on. But again,
that same jury also put this person into behind bars and said, you're going to be here for a number of years. And then at some point they're eligible for parole.
Well, he was on probation, I guess. But
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is a the other case was the other case was the other case was one I didn't necessarily disagree with. Had they gone the other way and granted him parole, I also could have seen that. That was one of those could have gone either way. You could convince me one way or the other. Right. This one, I am not convinced. I did not think they got it right. And, you know, that's going to happen. You're not going to think somebody, you know, nobody's going to agree with you 100%. But I just thought, and then I looked, as I thought about this deeper into how these parole boards work, and not every state, I don't think, has these types of same setups. I mean, some people Obviously some go before a judge to have their probation terminated early or whatever. But I thought this is one of those situations where, boy, I'd sure hate to be somebody that didn't do anything wrong, and I go before this board and they decide to revoke me anyway.
I agree. Now, I will say you just brought up how you're not sure how it works in other places. And there's not a lot of these boards that actually make their hearings public. Louisiana is one of them. The only other one I've found so far is Connecticut, and I've watched Connecticut, and Connecticut is 100% a rubber stamp. They decide pretty much ahead what it is they're going to do. They pull the person in, they spend about 30 seconds with them and say approved or denied, and they move on.
Are you really? Wow.
Yeah. And so I'll give credit to Louisiana that they're spending time hearing these people out.
And
they hear an impact and all that.
Which we know is a thumbs up. That's a good thing.
They do executive session. You're good.
Yeah. We're going to come up with conditions behind the doors. We all agree on this. And then they come out like 45 seconds later and they're like, yeah, we'll grant you.
Wrong. You're wrong, guys. You're so wrong.
Scratch, terrible. You guys are wrong. All wrong. Terribly wrong. Horribly wrong.
Because I watched 2 of them today that we haven't shown on this channel that went into executive session, and both of them ended up denied.
Denied.
Yep.
Really?
Yep. It is not an automatic.
Yeah.
We've just been lucky that that's what we've seen.
Yeah.
I think if there's a differing in opinion, they'll go into executive session, but doesn't always mean it's approved.
One executive session they went into was to hear from a witness.
Oh
wow.
I have no idea who that witness was. I don't know if it was somebody that did not want to appear publicly. If
that's probably what it was.
Probably.
I have no idea. But they took that testimony behind the scenes. So it's not the automatic that you would think it is.
Yeah. Well, I do think it's still, I'm not opposed, and I do like their transparency. It's just, there's these things they do every once in a while. It drives me crazy. But I guess we could say that for all, it's just like that Judge McNally case we watched a few weeks ago. There's just some of these things. Get Bailey started. There are a few of these cases that we all watch, and it drives us crazy. And I guess that was just my hot button yesterday. I think that was the facilitation for this discussion tonight.
For me, what got me fired up was was it Monday or Tuesday with the older guy in Louisiana on the pro board? The guy that
it was yesterday.
It was yesterday? Okay.
Yeah.
So once Michael had said, this guy's been in jail longer than he's been alive, right? Is that
45 years.
True?
Well, no, I was like 2 when this guy went to prison.
And then we get the victim impact statements, and we kind of get some details on the case. I was for let's let the guy out, and I think what kind of lingered with me, because you just mentioned there's some cases when we watch the show, I don't know about you guys, but they just linger with you at the end of the day. Like, we've had those weird cases, like those one, like, and it kind of bugs us. This guy's like so old. He's been in jail for an incredibly long time. And so backstage, so to speak, I texted you guys and said, like, how long do we want to keep people in? Like, when is enough? And I asked you guys a very human question. I said, I hope I'm that type of person, that human, that would actually appear before a parole board and argue for someone's release. I hope I would be that type of human that could do this after like 35 years or 30 years, whatever, and appear in a victim impact statement and actually advocate for this person's release, even if it was like a family member or someone very close to me. Like, I hope, could I be that type of person who could do that? And I don't know the answer. I told you guys, I'm not going to have the answers to anything today. But that's what had me thinking on this parole thing. And he was denied. And I'm like, how long do you want to keep this guy in here for? I mean...
I guess...
Yeah. He's serving 2 life sentences. Yeah. It's second-degree murder, though. It's not first-degree murder. Right. And that's what got me, as like, for second-degree murder, this guy has been serving 2 life sentences. He's been doing everything right. I kind of take your side, Bailey, on that I think he needs to I think he deserves a chance, especially since he served over half of his term already. And that's kind of where I'm kind of getting to, that if they have served half their term, I mean, I know there's opposition still, and there's always probably going to be opposition, but I don't know if you can just base the denied parole on that, in my opinion.
I agree with you too, but let me just play devil's advocate and say, like, okay, if put yourself in the victim's family's shoes.
Okay.
I'm sure, I mean, we all want to think that we'd be the forgiving type and that we'd be like, oh yeah, man, I know you killed my son. I know you killed my brother. I know you But hey, man, look, it's 46 years. We'll let bygones be bygones. Hey, man, I forgive you. Cool. Let's all get out and have a barbecue. You know, like, but I know that's, I'd like to think I'm that person, right? But yeah. I know Dan and I have talked about this. Like, so let's say you get into a car accident, and, you know, it's just one of those things. Something happens, you get in an accident and you kill somebody, and it's, you know, maybe you were driving a little recklessly. It's just like the case we talked about from Judge Mogan, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's reckless. Someone dies.
Yeah.
I think after a time you can forgive that because it is an accident. At the end of the day, somebody made a terrible, terrible decision, but, and it cost, and they paid the ultimate price for it. But, you know, maybe you can forgive. This is like deliberate stuff here. I mean, second degree murder. Okay, maybe it's not premeditated, but it's still depraved indifference, right? So I don't know if I could forgive that. I don't know if I could. I mean, I agree with you guys. I was kind of like rooting for the guy to get out, but at the same time, I understood why he didn't.
I just wish if I was young and dumb and I did something stupid, even how heinous it was, that would be taken into consideration.
Yeah. And, you know, that's what Michelle said. But the guy was 22 when he went in. I mean, and I think that was kind of our discussion, too, was like, hey, he was 22. I know we've all done just insanely dumb things at 22. Yes, I have not committed second-degree murder. No. Not then, not now. But, you know, still, we've done dumb things that some of us may have only been one bad decision away from doing something really dumb, or an accident away from doing something really dumb. Fortunately, I was never behind the wheel of a car except for when I was 2 and got a hold of the car keys and backed it out of the garage. But other than that, you know, we've never done anything like, I've never done anything like that. So I'm just saying, though, you know, 22 years old is, that's tough to put someone away for life at 22. And I know kidnapping, yeah. And my understanding was the kidnapping was not an intentional act of this. It was somebody happened to be in that truck, I think, if I heard correctly.
Yeah, and he shot the guy, and the victim impact statement was like the guy was flopping around like a chicken. The victim. right?
Well, yeah.
I mean, these we're talking about real cases and serious crimes, and I appreciate that. I absolutely appreciate the victim impact statements, and I do very seriously.
Absolutely.
And what I guess I was trying to explore after we finished up the day was, I haven't even walked an inch in these victims' families' shoes. Not an inch. I know nothing about them, but it had me wondering, would I have the forgiveness? And I'm not a man of faith, but I do believe in redemption. Like, enough is enough at some point. And I was testing myself. I'm like, Bailey, if there was a serious crime that happened against a loved one of yours, I mean, do you really think you could do that? And I just hope I could. I don't know why, but I hope I could.
That family is also blaming a death of that victim's father as well.
Yeah, that's what they said. He said that he died later of broken heart disease or whatever.
So of course they hold a grudge for both of these deaths. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Bailey, you bring up a good point. If I was in their shoes, would I forgive them? I can't say for certain because I'm not in their shoes.
Right.
But I think he at least deserves some kind of chance. And under the strictest circumstances, maybe. I don't know.
I certainly believe in redemption.
Make a zealous argument and say, absolutely not. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. But I want a board that, because we were talking about kind of, okay, the board's transparent. They are airing everything online. That's awesome. But you guys, I mean, I basically called you the board of denied. I mean, I know it's, so, and they kind of do follow their gut. But then there's sometimes, it's odd because the ones where we think, oh my God, this is going to be approved. This is going to be approved. This guy absolutely, he's taken every class, he checked every box, all of it. And then he gets denied. And then there's ones where we're like, oh my God, there's no way this person's getting out. And they're like, approved. It's like,
right. Well, the guy that wrapped himself in the Bible did that. He sold a good one. That's where Dan threw his pen.
And I'm the faith-based guy on this panel.
Yeah, and I was just going to go there.
What he was selling for a minute.
Yeah, Dan. So on these, for example, I mean, I think we all kind of believe in redemption. Maybe for me, unless it's a chomo. But other than that, I mean, I think we all pretty much believe in redemption arcs for people. But what say you on all this?
More specific, Michael.
Well, okay, in the case of this guy that goes away for 46 years.
Oh.
And so what do you think, because we haven't heard from you on this, like how do you feel this whole thing should go? Would you be able to, I mean, I think I already know the answer in this part, but what would you be able to forgive that?
Okay, well, if we're talking about this specific case, I think each case is unique.
Sure.
First off. But that specific one, that guy, the person who killed and did all the crimes back in 78, 79, whatever it was, that guy's dead. That guy doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
In all truth, this old man that is left now will bear no resemblance to what that person was. Now, whether or not what he's evolved into is good or bad kind of depends on what he's been through and what he's been able to do in prison. And from all of the records that they have and all the evidence that was presented, it sounds like he did a lot of good. Mm-hmm. I would probably err on the side of letting him out because he's an old dude who will bear no resemblance to what was there before, and his his experiences as documented in prison have all been pretty positive to try to make him into something better. Now, looking at it from the family side, could I personally forgive somebody like that? A hybrid answer. Forgiveness, yes. Because I've been on record. I don't think it's healthy to live with hate in your heart. I really don't.
Yeah, right.
And being a man of faith, if God can forgive even the worst among us, then I should be able to aspire to do that as well. But there is also the whole point of rendering unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. And I've talked about this before too. So I think you can have forgiveness for somebody, but not necessarily want them to not have to live with their consequences and have to fulfill their punishment.
Yeah.
There was an example of that. I told you I watched a bunch of these today as I was doing other work. And there was an example there where the victim's family, every single one of them lined up to forgive this guy. And every single one of them also said, but you need to finish your sentence. So I think you can have both. Yeah. That's kind of what I think.
It's a good answer. I like that. I mean, I really do. I think that's, I like to think that I could be like that. I don't know.
Go ahead, Ashley. And
no, you're good.
I definitely got to get this out.
I know one victim. I know somebody that knew someone that got murdered, and when that person is on parole, or the fear of them getting out on parole, they're afraid that that person will come after them. They're fearing for themselves and resenting that their loved one died. So I think there's that aspect too in regards to that. But go ahead, Bailey. I'm sorry.
To me, with the older gentleman, let him out. Give him a parole. I mean, I can't imagine the experience it would be for this gentleman to be coming out of prison and integrating into society. And I didn't pick up on any kind of fear from this dude as far as like public safety goes. Let him out. He's going to be.
He's 68.
He's going to be under strict conditions. He's going to struggle to find a job. I mean, who's going to hire
a job? Yeah, he's 68.
You have a blank resume for the last 47 years.
He went to prison when Jimmy Carter was president. I mean, the world is just he's going to be shell-shocked going into this world.
Now, granted, there's going to be services for him. He's going to get housing. He's going to find,
the Parole Project is going to support him.
Right. Yeah. Give him a chance. If he messes up, because all he has to do, you miss one freaking appointment with your probation officer, you're going to have another hearing with the parole board, and we know how, we know how that goes. Denied.
My vote is to deny.
Yeah. So they didn't even do that, and that's, I don't know. That's kind of where I was at with this.
Well, also there was a state representative in opposition.
That was the other thing. That was the other part that got me is a state representative was there. I was like, man, you guys brought in the big guns to oppose this guy.
I thought he was going to be for, letting this guy out.
Me too. I was like,
once he started talking, I was like, oh no.
We also brought in Donald Trump to speak on against you getting out. What?
The writing was on the wall.
As soon as they said that, I was like, all right. Well, we already denied. This guy was going to be, he was cooked. He's done. And
but go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think something that needs to be acknowledged right now is that these board members are appointed by the governor.
Right.
So this is very much a politics-driven situation in a lot of ways.
Oh man!
Because what they do is they make the recommendations to the governor.
Shit.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you before the show.
I know each state has a different way, but I had
a. I'm reading right off their website. All board members are appointed by the governor and are subject to confirmation by the Louisiana Senate.
Oh.
Wow. Yeah. So there's obviously some politics involved, which is true for a lot of things, and it's one of those things that here at TCF we try to avoid it, but the sad part is that whether you try to or not, politics is baked into the system. Judges run for office. We've talked about this with Judge Fleischer and why, people ask all the time why he's not streaming anymore. And there's a common belief now that it has to do with some pressure and that, an election is coming up next year. And maybe, should he win the election, maybe as a middle finger, he comes back and streams. There's a lot of theories about that. But that's a thing. Like there's definitely politics involved in the whole process. And with this board, I know that that's going on too, obviously. And it's because part of their, when they do pardons, just because they grant a pardon doesn't mean that it's granted. It means it's sent to the governor who then makes that decision. It's their recommendation.
Yep.
But I know the governor takes that into serious consideration, and almost always when the board recommends, the governor rubber stamps it for the most part. But still, this is that does bring in a very interesting dynamic to it all. Yeah. And the crazy part is too, this guy the 46-year prisoner there, he didn't have jail write-ups. This wasn't like a Judge West's court yesterday. And I think it's a video that is on this channel right now. This guy that has 32 pages of jail incident reports.
Yeah. Yep.
And on each page is like 3 to 4 things listed. So you can, he's probably got over 100 jail incidents. And, he's the guy that said, I don't give an S about what goes on. And of course, Judge West had she said, well, then
she was actually in the camera, showing, she's like, I have I have 32 pages.
And she goes, well, if you don't give a shit, why should I? Why should we? And I'm like, right on, Judge West. Let's call you the hammer because you nailed it. I mean, that was awesome.
That's a Texas gal right there.
That was between Judge West and Judge Stevens. They've had they've dialed up their sass game by tenfold. They've suddenly gone up my list of favorite judges on this channel because they really dialed it up, man.
I was thinking about this the other just earlier. I'm like imagining being a judge and you come into work and you have your docket, whether it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday docket, and I'm sure they stagger. I want DUIs on Thursdays. I want this on Tuesdays. Mm-hmm. And you come in and it can kind of wear on you. I bet you the job can kind of wear on you.
Yeah. See Judge Glazer for more.
That's all. Just go to Judge Glazer if you want to know what it's like if you're just a burnt out judge.
She's been in better spirits lately ever since that vacation, but she still has her moments.
She needs to go on vacation very quickly soon.
Maybe once every other month.
But so when I hear comments out there where it's like, oh, Judge Boyd is kind of being preachy, or Judge Fletcher is saying too much, and we're being critical of judges admonishing the defendants that are in front of them, and then trying to use the argument, oh, the judge is just trying to use the YouTube stream and make themselves popular.
Right, that's ridiculous.
Right. I think judges... I've kind of wavered on my opinion about the admonishment part about judges, especially on live streams. But I'm locked in. I love that judges do this because they see dockets all the time, DUIs all the time, like the same kind of cases. I don't think there's anything wrong, especially if they go off the record and talk with the defendant and say, you need to start doing better. I don't want to see these cases before me. I see these all the time. I've been doing this for 13 years or 25 years. And I think they genuinely don't want to see them, not because they dislike the defendant that's in front of them.
They care.
They care. They care about their communities. And so I hope Fleischer comes back and he starts streaming again, because he cares about his community. Whether he does or doesn't matter to me. But I do appreciate now when judges actually take the time out of their time. They could totally go like laser style, right? They could just knock it out. Or they can take a moment, take 5 minutes with somebody. Okay, all right, we're going to go off the record. You got to start doing better. You know, if I spend 5 minutes with this defendant, maybe I don't see them back. Maybe they get successful on their probation. Maybe they're successful on their parole. You know, whatever. I like that there's these admonishments. What makes me sad inside is that these admonishments have to be made, because, frankly, I learned all these lessons when I was 4 years old.
Okay. Yeah. So let's take what you said and use it to pull back into the discussion a little bit. You were talking about how you like the fact that we see so many of these judges that clearly care about their community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this parole board acting with that same kind of thought pattern? Do they care about their community?
Yeah, that's the question. Mm-hmm.
Good question, Dan.
I think they do. Because you have to consider what these guys have to face. The trying of the fact is long done by the time these people get in front of them. So the facts are settled. Now the defendant may not like that, but it's been settled. So now they have to weigh what is known, and that's that this is a convicted felon who's probably done a bunch of horrible things, and weigh that against what the community needs. Mm-hmm. And is giving this inmate a second chance, is that going to
benefit the community? Is it going to be safe for the community? These things that you were just talking about that you like out of so many of the judges that we see.
Right.
How does that reflect on this board?
I mean, they are political appointees. They have nothing to lose. However, they have an obligation. I'm sure these parole board members take their jobs incredibly seriously. I'm sure they take their work home with them. And, you know, we only dip into them, you know, for like 1 or 2 hearings. They have an entire day of hearings of this.
They're generally there about 2.5 to 6 hours.
Right. So that's a long day. Mm-hmm. And I mean, are they kind of, I don't know.
And you know, you just talked about
they can do whatever they want, Dan. That's what I'm thinking, is like they can do whatever they want, and all we get to do is basically get commentary on it, because, as you said, they're appointed. They work for the governor, essentially under the umbrella of the governor. So,
well, let's talk about that. They are politically appointed, but so are a whole ton of the judges that we watch.
Yeah.
Especially up in Michigan.
Yes. Yep.
Federal judges?
No, the district judges.
The circuit ones, especially the ones up in Michigan, the vast majority of them are appointed.
Middleton, McNally, all those.
Yeah, they start out being appointed because they have somebody that retires mid-cycle.
Oh, and then they re-win.
And then once they're in, nobody really knows what they're voting for, so they just go with the incumbent.
So all right, but okay. So I'm glad we clarified that.
So quite honestly, you know, I get the concern since we brought it up that the parole board is political appointees, but so are a ton of judges, and a lot of them that we like.
Yeah,
they start out appointed,
Yeah.
and then they stay there because the public does not educate themselves on these people. And I'm not saying that the ones
nobody
that
cares
are
about
always
judges
bad
on the docket. I do. I know everybody
On the
else
ballot.
here. In the,
you'll care when you're in front of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no kidding.
Then all of a sudden it matters.
Yeah.
But that,
Or if you see a famous case like on TV, or you see old Judge Bareski there on the Lori Vallow case here in Arizona, you'll remember that judge.
Oh yeah.
it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to know for certain. In my opinion, just because I know judges are appointed. I know these guys are appointed, but I don't know personally if they're always there for the community. I want to say they are, and I know that is the right answer, but I don't know for certain.
Well,
I know,
okay.
I think in the absence of a fact, otherwise you have to at least assume they are. But what were you going to say?
Yes.
There are some
Yes.
judges are just like anything else, okay? They're people. And what do we know about people? Well, there's great people. There's kind of a lot of, okay people. There's some bad ones. And just like that with judges, there are some bad judges. We've all heard about them. We've probably read articles or we've seen them on Court Cam. Maybe we've seen them on this very channel. I don't actually think we've seen any really bad ones on this channel, but we've seen them. Okay, we know that they exist. There are bad judges out there. Some of them stick around a very long time. Some of them are not around a long time because of judicial review boards and all of that. But it's it happens. There are some that just they go crazy with power and they or they get busted for DUI or they get busted for something, because they're human.
Right.
And that's at the end of the day. But I think the majority, just like the majority of teachers, just like the majority of police officers, just like the majority of, whatever, doctors, they want to make a difference and they want to do right.
Right.
But not all of them are that way, and the problem is the ones that aren't kind of ruin it for everybody else. But
Yeah.
I think that if a lot of people that go into that profession, that go into any profession, they want to make a difference. They want to do right. The reason that they went into it in the first place, they didn't. Well, let's just say most people don't go into it to go, all right, I'm going to get in there and I'm going to just be the biggest bastard possible. I mean, most people don't do that.
I'm going to be the guy that sits in the pool.
Which is why we were talking about age, and these people have definitely proved themselves that they are up for this position because of how many years of experience they had in whatever field they're in. But
sure. Although in their case, is it time to retire? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like these people ain't going anywhere, man. Like
it's Louisiana. They ain't going nowhere.
To me, it's like, I think in my head, I'm totally postulating this. I'm making this up, but I think they're retired. They got a pension. They're bored. This is like something that they want to do. They come in and they make huge decisions that impact people's lives.
Yeah.
I'm not telling them if they're right, wrong, or indifferent. That's not for me to do. I'm not appointed. But, sometimes they make some funny, silly decisions.
Although, actually, it is kind of for you to actually, I'm going to stop you there, Bailey. It is kind of. Well, you don't live there, but you're still a voter. So whether you're in Louisiana or Arizona, whatever, all of these decisions that parole boards make and judges make, you do get to decide whether they're right or wrong when you go and cast your vote.
And that's why shows like this have value. Like, people who watch and actually, like, wait, what's a parole board? Like, wait a minute, it's appointed? Like, I learned on this show just now, like, this is appointed by the governor. It's under the executive branch. I didn't know that. Because I was going to ask, that was my note, are these people elected? Gets people thinking, and it gets a conversation going. I love that.
Yeah. Well, and that's the important thing. That's why we do Sidebar every week, twice a week, in fact. Yeah. It's just part of the process. Dan's vision for this channel, I know, is yes, to entertain, but also to educate.
Yep.
And
that's the whole idea.
And I think if you can learn a little something here, even from good old Sidebar, then you're ahead of the game. So I think that's why we do this.
Well, in theory, this is the place where the majority of learning will happen on this channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're fleshing things out.
Right.
And
maybe somebody can have some introspection and kind of look at how things turn out, and they might say, hey, I really thought this, and now I think that. Even if it's just from our silly little discussions here, I hope that people are able to sort of look inside and see, or at least reevaluate how they feel about things, and that's just to keep an open mind, at least. That's really important. Dan and I know we were talking about that, well, some degree, between shows here. So, yeah.
Well, I've evolved just today, because I told you guys I've watched a bunch of these hearings, and I went from, this board is old, they constantly make the wrong choices, all of that, to, well, maybe they need the wisdom that comes with age, and maybe their gut feeling on something has some significance, because so much is on the line if they get it wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Things that I hadn't thought about in real time as we watch these things on the morning show.
Yeah, and that's what law enforcement has to do every day too. So I think there's something
that's why
there.
they appreciate so much if law enforcement is endorsing this or not.
Yeah. Right? Judge Stevens said the same thing the other day about he said, if you go out, if I just put you on probation, you go out there and screw up, somebody's going to take a look at me, or something like that. And
right.
And it's something to think about. Obviously, all these things, there's a ripple effect. So,
tough question.
That's why I don't sit here. I was prepared to come in here with both barrels and blast this parole board, but I do think they get most of the decisions right.
Don't say that after Tuesday's conversation.
I know.
I might have to report that.
I know. I know.
It's out there now. Somebody's going to clip it.
I know.
Dan brought up some legitimate points about
it's one of those things. There's going to be bodies everywhere on Wednesday, bro. Bruh.
And I made it through this whole hour without swearing once.
What you want, a cookie?
Yeah, I think you did.
You did.
That's weird.
Only I swore, but I was swearing because I quoted.
You also didn't bring notes, which is a sign of the apocalypse. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of So, it's. I'm trying. I don't know. I'm trying to come at this show a little bit different. I wanted it to be more natural because Tuesday's show was very relaxed, and I was like, you know what, Bailey, just have a conversation with your friends. That's it.
Exactly.
Well,
we're
talking about complex things that are difficult, but just have a good time. Try not to swear. I made that intentional. I was swearing way too much. I watched Tuesday's show and I swore way too much, and I was like, it kind of made me look.
Need to give Bailey a swear jar.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about putting a swear counter on the screen.
Just put $1 in every time I swear. So
that would be cool, Dan, if we did that.
A swear counter. I'll look into it.
I like that actually, and I don't swear, but I don't mind if Bailey does.
I don't mind if there's going to be one on each of our boxes. Dan and Ashley and myself will be in the single digits, and Bailey will be 897. It'll just say tilt. You see, tilt for you younger people. Anyway, that's so yeah.
Yeah, I'd say about half the audience did not get
Yeah, I realize, I'm probably sounding like Dennis Miller, Dennis Miller, for those of you wondering, he was on Saturday Night Live and also had the Dennis Miller. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of obscure references tonight. Yeah, he was brilliant.
He's also the king of the obscure reference.
Yes. He would have appreciated my Battle of Hastings reference earlier.
Oh yeah, I'm a little young for this, but yes.
Oh gosh.
All right.
Golly gosh.
It's that time, friends, to wrap it up. Any final thoughts? Bailey?
Fun show.
Everybody
was. Take care of themselves out there, and don't pick up any cases.
Well,
that
might be.
Otherwise, we might be talking about you on Sidebar. I'm just saying.
Promises. No promises.
We're covering you live on the morning show.
Can you imagine? We go now. We found a new court. Oh, look! I know that guy.
I'm looking forward to that so much.
I keep going to Georgia courts hoping Ashley will see somebody.
Can you imagine?
All right, final thoughts, Ash?
Well, my thoughts about this is that the parole board does not have an easy job.
Right.
Even though it looks like what they're doing is very simple and very cut and dry, I don't think it's all that easy sometimes.
Right.
So I need to keep that in mind and keep an open mind in regards to some things that they decide, especially since they are all older than me and some people are wiser than me. And yes, I have to keep that in mind.
Well said, Ashley. I agree. I second that.
Well, my thought on this is I appreciate everybody here for the great discussion, lively discussion. We love to do this every Tuesday, Thursday, 8 p.m. East, 5 Pacific, right here for Sidebar. And you guys have any suggestions for topics you want us to cover here? We're always open to that as well, but we love to talk about the stuff that happens here on TCF Live. So join us for that, 6:30 a.m. Pacific, 9:30 East for the pre-show, 10 a.m. East, 7 a.m. Pacific for the live show. Sorry, Dan, I'm doing your job for you tonight.
No, I appreciate it because I'm gonna leave it with this. I talk a lot about how the world. People want to look at it in black and whites, but in reality, the majority of it exists in the gray.
Yeah.
And
yes,
the more I watched these parole hearings today, isolated from the rest of the court system that we watch every day, so just watching this in its own bubble, the more I realized just how gray all of that has to be. I don't think that there's any simple answers. I don't think that there's any right or wrong. Yes,
there's no law to this, unfortunately.
No. And yes, there are some things that are probably not good choices that they make, poor choices in wording. That one case where they ignored something that they probably shouldn't have ignored. But there's a human element to everything, and that shows the human element. But I think in the end, just like everything else in the world, it's all very gray. So I would encourage anybody, if you haven't just sat down to watch a full session of these parole hearings, just go to their YouTube channel. You can find it. Just put in Louisiana Parole in YouTube. It'll pull up, and just watch one of their days worth, and you'll see that things are more complicated than you might realize.
Right.
But we'll go ahead and leave it there. As Michael said, we'll be back tomorrow morning, and look forward to seeing you all there. In the meantime, take care. God bless.
Good night.
Bye.
Take care.